wanted to go outside, but didn't feel like it was safe. The grass was pretty wet and moisture out there, so we went inside. Kids practiced hard. Thought we got better. We did some good things and continued to compete and prepare for UMass. Now opening up.
And noticed Ben starting to, at least in Indy, getting some first team reps. Is this a situation with him where you guys are probably going to try to want to maybe bring him along a little slower and not put a series after series on him, or are you gonna can he go right into the fire?
Well, it just depends on what we've got available and where he ranks among those guys. I don't think he's 100% yet, but he played last week, a couple snaps. But he's really, he's doing this week what he did the last couple of weeks, which is practice. I think he's getting more and more comfortable, and if he's a guy, then he'll be up there. We need to get him ready. So I didn't get to see him practice the whole day today. I gotta go back and watch the tape.
Coach, yesterday you didn't get a lot into UMass. Can you just give us some idea of kind of what they look like, how they operate?
Yeah, Coach Whipple does a great job. Offensively, I think they scored 120-something points in the first quarter of the game. I mean, they're really a fast starting team. They have a explosive passing game. The Isabella kid is one of the best receivers in all of college football, and our kids respect him. I mean, they watch him and he plays really well, and they do a good job. They change up personnel groupings on you. Then defensively, they don't have great statistics, but they got kids that play really hard, play physical. They got a good football team. I noticed on the punt returner, the Isabella kid does a great job back there. He took one to the house against South Florida and had it called back, but they do a really good job on special teams as well.
Some of those smaller schools like that, the group of five, they tend to have to get a little creative defensively. They do some difference. How often do you guys watch the tape and kind of maybe pick up a blitz or something like that and say, maybe we can try and add that into what we do?
We do that. We do that probably more after the game than before. I mean, our offensive staff will come in and say, hey, man, you got to see this pressure they got, and we might add it. But more times they did it on us, and we watch it after the game and then say, that's pretty good, but we may want to add that in. But we've got support staff members that are watching games across the country and trying to pick up things from all kinds of people.
Kirby, given the injuries you guys have had seem to crop up on the offensive line week after week, how do you think that group's done, and how has Sam Pittman kind of coped with it?
He coached by next man up, and he continues to recruit. The value in recruiting is just tremendous to have depth, and I don't know that I've ever had a year that I've coached that we've had an offensive line as thin as this. All the years of LSU and Alabama, we had depth in our lines, and we had depth, but it's slowly but surely deteriorated, and we don't have a lot of depth now. So that doesn't just take a toll on your offensive line; it takes a toll on your scout offensive line, which goes against your defensive line, which makes your team better. And then every rep you take in practice, one guy might be taking 2 for another guy's 1, and your volume just increases, which increases the risk of injury. So it takes its toll, and sometimes they all hit in bunches, but we're hoping to try to get some of these guys back.
You guys have back-to-back 300-yard rushing games still. I mean, they seem to be managing that okay.
Oh, they're doing great, but the last 2 games we really haven't been that banged up. I mean, if you think about it, the last game it was really Ben, and now it's Cade and Kendall, and Ben's a little banged up too. So we got some guys hurting at those positions.
Staying along those same lines, how much of an impact, how bad does it hurt whenever you're losing swing guys? Like, I mean, 2 of them that have played multiple positions.
Yeah, I mean, it just brings the next man up. I mean, we're running out of people. We're having to use tight ends at offensive line on the scout team that we just don't have. We've never had that problem since I've been here. We've always had big bodies, good scout team, offensive line. We're very depleted.
The lack of big plays being give up, especially pass plays, how much of that is on the safety and how well they play, and how much on the other?
It might have something to do with safeties. I think it's got a lot to do with the corners. I think it's got a lot to do with the way we call the defenses. I think it's leverage and tackle. So we believe that if everybody in front of the safeties and secondary fell down and just took the play off, there shouldn't be a play over 20 yards. Because the 2 corners and the safeties should leverage the ball to where they should get him on the ground before 20 yards. And if you're able to do that, and you play red area defense, red zone defense, you could be pretty good. But if you don't play good red zone defense, it doesn't matter. But our kids leverage the ball well. I think Mel does an unbelievable job of making sure everybody knows where the other guy is. So when the ball breaks out, you don't let it go for long, explosive runs. And it's critical to having success, but it's also probably evident that we don't have a lot of tackles for loss and sacks too.
How's the competition at corner with the opposite of DeAndre kind of been this week?
It's been good. Stokes been going with the first group, but he's competing, playing well, and so is Tyson. Tyson's still got a lot to learn, and when he has to go with the twos, you find out how much he still has to learn because he might not have the safeties that know it as well as the ones, so the communication is not as good. And you find out that hey, he probably has more to learn than we thought because the one safety's helping him a lot more.
And then to follow up on that, I mean, I know you talked about how hard that Stokes has worked and everything, but is there one thing that he's kind of picked up on that's helped him make these type of plays that he's made?
He's just smart. I mean, he's really bright. He understands leverage. He understands coverages. You tell him something once, you go out to practice and he does it. You know, where a lot of the guys, they need reps and reps. He doesn't. Stokes, he gets it in the meeting. He's very bright. He's very diligent and works really hard.
The short yardage situations when you say you've been working on them, how do you work on that without just full on contact with the line, and what are some of the keys to playing good short yardage defense?
Oh, I thought you were talking about offense. Well, I mean, short yardage defense, you don't want to be in it. I mean, I don't really want to be in 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. So, I mean, inevitably it's going to happen, but a lot of times, and I would argue that we learned the hard way, sometimes it's better not to stop them than risk trying to stop them. Because we had 2 explosive plays, what we call explosive runs, that got out against LSU that weren't faulty defenses, they were missed tackles. I mean, we hit a guy 4 yards, and then he ended up getting 35 yards. And when you do that, that's not on the defense, that's on our ability to tackle. And then you don't have a great defensive call, you say, okay, what can I do better to maybe put our guys in a better situation? So you're constantly looking at both, but you can practice that. You can practice that without killing each other. I mean, you go up there and you run short yardage plays, you hit people, you strike people, it's football. And that's the way we try to get better at it. We try to change it up and not let somebody know what we're going to be in. Sometimes they know what you're going to be in and they still can't stop.
So it's a matter. Sometimes you sell out, sometimes you don't. I know it's the first.
No, I don't believe in selling out on short yardage. I think if you do that, you're gonna give up explosive plays. I'm not a big. You sell out on the goal line because there's only 11 yards behind you, but you don't sell out there in the middle of the play, middle of the field.
Going back to what I was at the end there, you mentioned lack of negative plays and sacks. Is that kind of connected to how giving up not giving up explosive plays, like that there have been more numbers in the back end for you on defense?
I've had years where we were high in sacks and high in tackles for loss and low in the big plays, but it's gone back and forth. I don't know that the reason why we're low in sacks and tackles for loss is because we're high in not, doing well and not giving up explosive plays. I'd love to be good at both. It's just not who we are right now. We're not a twitchy team that's quick and make people miss and get in the backfield, penetrate, and get a tackle for a loss, or a elite pass rusher that can just beat guys one-on-one. That's not indicative of who we are. But what we are is a team that knows how to leverage and tackle the ball and not give up explosives. So that's kind of our identity right now.
Were you able to deduce that in fall drills, or is this something that you learned like through the month of September as you go against different opponents?
What learn what?
In terms of like the personality of your defense and evaluating what you had.
No, I mean I think a lot of it is just the reps we take, the players out on the field, some of the opportunities that we've been given. We've had some quarterbacks that can run, some quarterbacks that have maybe they've missed some explosive plays. I mean, we got a lot of PIs that some of those might have been explosive plays, but we got pass interference called on us. But I don't think you know who that is kind of until you get closer to the season, because you go through scrimmages, you go through short yardage periods, and you know. But we're a bigger defensive line, not a smaller, twitchier defensive line.
Is Demetrius Robertson still dealing with an injury, and how long might he be out?
Not sure how long he'll be out, but yes, he's still dealing with an injury. We think he's close to being back. Actually, as a matter of fact, I thought he was going to be back today, but he'll probably be back tomorrow.
You said after Saturday's game, you talked about Mark Webb and him playing more and being out there more and having a bigger role.
Mark Webb and who?
You said Mark Webb having a bigger
I got
role,
you.
him playing more than he had previously. What went into that, and why did he play more?
That was Auburn's decision. I mean, they played 4 wideouts, so I mean that's not we don't control it. Mark Webb plays primarily on 3rd down for us. Well, Auburn played 4 wide receivers on 1st and 2nd down, so it became a personnel matchup for us, and we want skill on skill, just like Otis. Everybody's like Otis started. Well, Otis started because of what Auburn started the game in. It wasn't that Otis started. I mean, we didn't say Otis to start this game. He started in a personnel grouping. Richard started in a personnel grouping. Auburn started in a big personnel grouping, so we had a bigger personnel grouping.
What is how has Tyler Clark played this year? He's not a guy that you can notice a lot, but I know he's on the field a lot, and it seems like he's been one stalwart where you've rotated a pretty good bit of guys in and out of there.
Tyler's done a good job. Tyler's plays hard. He had a tremendous finish to the year last year. I think he had his best game was probably South Carolina. He's been dealing with some injuries, and he's got a really bad finger that he has to wear a club to practice with, and it makes it tough on him to lock out. But he plays tremendously hard, cares about his teammates, and gives us all he's got.
What's the value of this is kind of going off the radar a little bit here, coaching continuity with the staff that you've been able to keep? I mean, what's the value of keeping that staff, and how difficult would it be to change coordinators? Does the language change? Would the philosophy change?
I think change is kind of inevitable. I mean, you know that that's going to happen in this profession, and you know that coaches get opportunities. When you're a part of a successful program and you're able to win games, you'll have guys get opportunities, and I am tremendously happy for them and their families and the opportunities because of what they've done for the University of Georgia while they're here. So I'm always looking for a guy to get an opportunity, but I think continuity is critical to recruiting success. So I think continuity is important, but I do think change is inevitable, and it'll happen. It's happened to us every year.
2 more questions?
Speaking of change, you know, it wasn't a small thing, you know, moving James into a different role and Jim Chaney into a different role, because you had a good thing going, obviously, but you explained your reasons for doing that. Now we've got 11 games in, right at it. The offense appears to have be at least on the level they were last year, maybe improved a little bit. How do you feel like that marriage has worked?
Been great. I mean, it really is not as big a change as you guys make it. Everybody makes it out to be a huge change. It's the communication, the setup, the day-to-day operations. The biggest change is the addition of Cortez Hankton. Nothing else really changed. I mean, everybody's like, well, Jim was with the quarterbacks last year. Yeah, he was, but James was too. And they meet together with the receivers a lot of times.